Corner Motorsports is presented by Pache Motors, the largest Ram truck dealer in Atlantic Canada. Browse their inventory online at pachemotors.com. Tranquility. Help for anxiety is only a click away. Learn more by visiting tranquility.app. Finish Line Vinyl Design, the official decal supplier of Tim's Corner Motorsports. Like them on Facebook at facebook.com/finishline vinyl design. And by CB Warren's Auto Care.
Hey, I'm CTWE wrestler The Mac.
And I'm Showtime Stevie Stamos.
Have you ever dreamed of owning your own race car and taking it out for a test drive? Well, thanks to our friends that Rent a Race Car, you can!
Visit www.rentaracecarne.com for all the details on how you can take one of these babies out to Stafford Motor Speedway. We'll see you at the races.
Touchdown!
All right. 3, 2, 1. Live, boys. I think we are live on a Wednesday night. Welcome to Vidane TV and welcome to Tim's Corner Motorsports. It's time for some weekly iRacing series, round number 1 here at the Oxford Plains Speedway. I'm Devil Angelo from Riverside International Speedway. We've got a cast of characters up here in the virtual announcer booth. My buddy Kyle Young from down south in New York, I believe. What's going on, Kyle?
I'm going to take that one to heart because for the first time in my life, I've been called a Southerner living in central New York. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Vidane TV, ready to kick off another awesome racing event with the Tim's Corner Motorsports guys, a weekly racing series. This one's going to be a little bit different, guys. He's kind of taking an approach that we've seen with our friends over the East Coast Winter League, doing a weekly series here at Oxford Plains Speedway. So we're very familiar with these drivers. We know a lot about them. It'll be fun to see them tackle the Oxford Plains Speedway here over the better course the next 2 months throughout this series. And Dylan and I are not alone. We got Mike on the rock, Mike James over here. Mike, how's it going, my friend?
Oh, good. We were out here last night at Oxford Plains for the Eastbound Series, and it's great to be back again for a back-to-back night. The TCM Series, this is night number 1, and, you know, this is like the sneak peek, the prequel of what we're going to see throughout this series. It's kind of cool that we're going to be here at Oxford Plains. You know, it's a world-famous track. A lot of big competitors like Dale Earnhardt have competed at this track. So 100 laps going to be on board. 45 drivers are in this series right now, and it's capped out at 45. So we're right now in qualifying. The final seconds are counting down, Dylan. It looks like John Gahan possibly maybe on top of the board with a 14.74.
Yeah, he's one fast son of a gun, so the top 8 are moving on to the show. They don't have to worry about the heat races. 4 heat races coming up, top 3 advance, 2 last chance hooligan races with the top 3 moving on. And yes, John Gahan gets the pole. Ashton Tucker outside pole. Matthew Barkhouse also making his way in the show on qualifying speed, along with Keith McClellan, Mac Daddy, Cody Moorcroft, Nick Mott, Richard Drake, and Conrad Murphy. They're making the show on their fastest times. And boys, just like that, we're going to some heat racing here at Oxford Plains.
Indeed, we are. Our first heat race jumping onto the grid. This will be the first of 4. 12 laps will be the distance, and we will take the top 3 cars to tonight's 100-lap season opening feature event. Your pole sitter here for heat race number 1. He is driving car number 97. That is Riley Duncan. And outside pole sitter in car number 5 is Craig Tully.
And up next, the 17 car in row number 2. On the inside, the 17 car of Brad Hayes. He's going to have the 2 car, the quick Todd Cousins on the outside.
Dave Cassidy starting 5th. And my new buddy I met for the first time this year from the island, Tanton Woolridge, Bandolero driver from Prince Edward Island.
Row number 4 looks like this. The 024 machine of Derek Gates will roll off in position number 7. And Matt Odell's number 28 car will start in position number 8. And all by himself back there on row number 5. 9th place starter is the 25 car of Chris Ewing.
You know what's the cool thing, Kyle, with doing the iRacing back in the spring and right now, and then we had racing in the summer. I met Chris for the first time at Scotia Speed World here in Halifax. He says how much he loves iRacing. He was talking about how he did some street stock racing against Bobby Labonte and some NASCAR legends. So you never know who you'll run into in iRacing, but we've got some of the best in Atlantic Canada here, and a couple of Americans sprinkled in here too, Mike.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome run. The pace car is now exited. 97 has the hammer. Riley Duncan gets it going with a great start. We got a bit of side-by-side in row number 2. Craig Tully and Brad Hayes going at it, Kyle.
First caution flag has flown. The two machine of Todd Cousins is in trouble going into turn number 1. He had a little bit of help, had some contact down on the inside corner panel there. Wasn't exactly sure who it was that got into him, but fortunately for all of us and for all of you watching at home, our man Paul Showtime Strickland Jr. is the one that got you covered on that. Paul, welcome to the broadcast. What'd you got for us?
Glad to be here. See Snack Time's coming early with the kick-ass beef jerky instant replay. Going to focus in that number 2 car, Todd Cousins, running about middle of the track. Looks like the 13 just came in a little bit too hot, gave him a little bit of a boop ski and sent him on around. Didn't hit anything, didn't hit the dirt on the outside. Looks like the pace car is going to drive on right through him, so that's good news. But no damage here. He's probably going to restart on the same lap as everybody else. I don't see coming down for tires for 6 laps, but going to restart with about half the race to go. 6 laps. We'll see what he can do.
It's a very good thing that you just mentioned there, Paul. We are counting caution laps, rather, in these heat races. So every lap under caution that we click by will count towards the 12-lap total. So these heat races not running off of 12 green flag laps. Definitely changes the strategy here, guys. If we see some of these heat races being caution-filled, it's going to be very important to have that track position, which could make qualifying for the upcoming weeks also important moving forward.
Well, last night we ran 125 laps here at the Oxford Plains for the Eastbound Series, and some of the Newfoundland drivers like Jason Goss and Ryan Walsh had a sneak peek last night here. This is a challenging track, boys. That curb on the inside, lots of runoff here, but that curb on the inside played a factor last night, and we did see around lap 75 quite a few of the competitors heading down for tires.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to have this weekly racing series kicking off, and there's racing well into the new year, and hopefully in the new year things get a bit better health-wise. But we're online tonight with iRacing, and Riley Duncan gets the green flag again on lap 5, trying to get a little bit of a lead again. The top 3 advance right to the show. And with Oxford Plains being such a historic track and such a small track, there's not a lot of wiggle room to try and move on the outside to get a giant pass or a giant run. So if you're the 5 right now, Craig Tully, you're in the magic spot, and you want to hang on to that.
Yeah, without a doubt, and currently right now looking at a very comfortable place in the field. The 56 is Taden Woolridge. Right behind him, Woolridge is only about half a car length behind that number 5 machine, but he's not putting a lot of pressure on Craig Tully right now. Woolridge he's about 2 car lengths or so back to Derek Gates running there in position number 5, but they're going to come around and click off lap number 8 here, Mike. Only 4 to go, so Tan's going to want to think about making a move here soon.
Yeah, it could get challenging here in the final laps of this heat race, number 1. A lot of these drivers do not want to get into the last chance qualifier, as Dylan called the hooligan race. Very difficult. We see a lot of action in those last chance qualifiers, as these guys will have their final chance, and sometimes it gets a little messy. But right now, Tanton Woolridge, everybody single file. Looks like he's going to throw it in there just a little bit, try to sneak up there on Craig Tully in the 5 car. But with the laps counting down on this 3/8 mile, not a lot of time here. They got to get it going.
Riley Duncan, pardon me, and Brad Hayes, they're in first and second. They've got a little bit of a cushion, especially Riley Duncan, as we're going to be coming around with 1 lap to go. Craig Tully's in that big position right now, but a young gun, Tanton Woolridge, all over the rear, and Tanton throws a little bit of a bump. It falls back. Cruising down the backstretch, it's most likely going to be Riley Duncan. Can Tanton Woolridge stick his nose there? He does, side by side with Tully. He moves him out of the way. They wiggle, though. Look out. Who's going to finish third? They spin on the front stretch, and I think the 24 crossed the start-finish line in third, and that would be Derek Gates.
You are indeed correct, Dylan. Derek Gates, the biggest beneficiary of the aggressive driving from Tanton Woolridge. He sneaks by both of them and takes the 3rd and final transfer position. Your top 3 rundown like this: Riley Duncan goes to victory lane. Brad Hayes will finish 2nd. And as just mentioned, Derek Gates grabs that 3rd and final transfer position. 4th place finisher Todd Cousins, great recovery after the lap 1 spin, but he is just 1 spot out. Dave Cassidy in 5th. And then Tanton Woolridge tried to go for it all, finishes in 7th. Matt Odell or he finishes in 6th rather. Matt Odell is in 7th. 8th place finisher is Craig Tully, and Chris Ewing is credited with a 9th place finish. He did not start that heat race, guys, so he's going to have to start deep in one of the consolations tonight.
Hopefully they don't both start in the same last chance qualifier, because I think memories will come back to haunt. But we are gridding once again, Dylan. Roger Down sitting on the pole in the 21 car. He's going to have the 83 car of Chris Roma on the outside of row number 1.
Row 2 in the 23 yet to appear on the track. Joey Stiers and Corey Hallett in the 57 on the outside of row 2.
Your top 5 starters will be completed with car number 67, driven by Wade Craswell, and Craswell's dancing partner there on row number 3. Starting in position number 6 is the 19 of Ryan Walsh.
And completing field on the row number 4, the 72 of Todd Tufts. He's going to have Jake Scrivens in the 4 car on the outside, and completing the field, Ryan Messer is now entering in the 1 car.
Godfather's not on the track yet, but as soon as he gets on there, he'll be a force. He's good on iRacing and had some solid runs this year in his pro stock here in the Maritimes.
So once again here, heat race number 2, same ordeal as the first one, 12 laps in distance. Top 3 cars will transfer on. Saw some good stuff there in that first heat race, getting a good classic little short track battle in, a little bit of bumping, a little banging, maybe some temper starting to flare up early on. We'll see how that progresses throughout the rest of the night, but as you mentioned earlier on, Mike, this track is very difficult to try to get around, and it's not usually known for being a 2-lane racetrack. So some of that bump and run stuff that we just saw there at Heat Race 1 might be the theme of the night.
It's a nice sized track, a 3/8 mile, but it only got 9-degree banking on the corner, so not a lot of banking here. Like you said, last night the bottom really played a factor here, and some of the top drivers got pretty close to that curve. But we are back to green flag racing, and it's Roger Down with the lead here with the 83 and chase, Chris Roma.
Roger that, Mike. Chris Roma all over the back of the 21 car. Oh, we got a problem in the back. 1 car completely sideways. The 72 careens Todd Tufts right into, I believe, Wade Craswell in the 67 car. That's going to bring out another caution in the heat race number 2 tonight for the TCM iRacing Weekly Racing Series. We'll see what happened here with our good buddy Paul Strickland.
Yeah, pulling up the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky instant replay right now, and pretty much saw it happen live right there on your screen, but we're going to look at it from up top, up in the blimp view there. And you can see the 72's kind of running by himself. The 67 gets into the side of the 23. They both almost save it. 72 with nowhere to go gets into the 27, sends him on around. The 67.
Yeah.
Check that.
That's
yeah. And that's it. That's all that happened.
That's what happened.
End of page. Okay.
Discussion's been brought to you by Kick-Ass Beef Jerky.
Biff jerky, huh?
Beef Jerky. The 19 Ryan Wallace doing a wonderful drive driving through that. The 4 car as well. They got pretty tight quarters there coming through that caution, but top job from Ryan Walsh and the 4 car of Jake Scrivens.
So
Mike, you had mentioned it on.
Go ahead.
Mike, you mentioned it a little earlier on. What kind of led to that opening there for that incident to happen was Joey Stiers going into turn number 1 there. Got a little too far down to the inside and hit that inside curving with the left front tire, and that got him all sorts of out of shape, way outside of the line. And that's what opened up the bottom for Wade Craswell to stick his nose underneath. That's going to be one of the prominent things that we're going to be watching throughout this entire series, is that curb on the inside line of this racetrack is a very individualized piece of character for this racetrack. And as you just saw there out of Joey Stiers, that is a nasty curb and not something that you want to be messing with.
Definitely a factor for sure, Kyle. I would call it the honest factor. Keeping them honest here on the inside. But yeah, it's kind of like a ramp, and if you get snaggled into it, it can be a lot of difficulty. But there's a lot of grip down on the bottom, as we've seen in several other Oxford races. Those that can get close get some pretty quick times around here at Oxford as they hit that apex close to that inside curb.
So Ryan Messer did not answer the call, so he may be having issues with his internet in New Brunswick. He may have to race in the LCQ to try and make the show. Green flag is back out. Roger down, still in front with Chris Roma in second. In third, it's a big battle with the 23 Steyrs trying to block off a handful of cars, but the yellow flag is out once again.
Yeah, guys, we got a car spun around on the front stretch here. The number 4 machine of Jake Scrivens has found contact with the outside wall. Looks like he may have done that all by his lonesome. He's collected some front end damage on that red number 4 machine, and we'll send things on over to Paul and our friends at Kick-Ass Beef Jerky to show you exactly what happened with him.
Beef Jerky.
Beef Jerky.
Ooh.
I think Paul's eating beef jerky.
Well, that hurt for the 4 for sure. Scrivens.
Third time's a charm there with this mute button.
Get the beef jerky out of your mouth.
We just ran through the whole bag, but Kyle nailed it right on the head. It looks like the 4 car spun the tires a little bit on that restart, lost the back end of the race car, and, well, then he found the wall with the front end, so tough break for the 4 car. Going to be seeing him in one of those LCQ races later on tonight.
I think he was checking out that girl on the front row.
Which one? The one with their hand in the air?
The one.
The one eating beef jerky?
Beef jerky.
Beef jerky.
The
Mike,
news spokes.
Mike, we have not chatted, I don't think, since the last iRace we did in June.
Yeah,
In person.
It's been a long time, Dylan. You know, it was a great summer. I got to follow you. You got into a demolition derby. I was so impressed with you and followed you along up at Miramichi. But we got a few races here on the Rock, and New Brunswick was on fire with lots of stellar races. But, you know, it is what it is. But hopefully we have a strong 2021. I know Kyle has a lot to go on for 2021. A lot of activity in your store for next year, eh, Kyle?
I'm trying my best, man. Trying to plan a move down to North Carolina. I'm over dealing with New York and this winter weather that we're oh so gladly now enjoying here as we've graced into December. And moving to a new area creates new opportunities and a new adventure for me to have as a race chaser. So very much hoping that 2021 goes a little bit better than what 2020 has. Unfortunately, learned today that the Daytona 500 is going to have a limited capacity of fans, so that makes one of my biggest adventures for every year a little bit challenging, but it's only one out of many, so we'll see how things go throughout the as we get closer to the new year.
Yeah, Daytona is going to be a hot ticket with about a handful of seats available. The green flag is back out. Packed house here at the virtual Oxford Plains Speedway. And Roger Down still has the lead in front of Chris Roma. But keep your eye on the battle for third, because here comes Newfoundland. And Ryan Walsh on the outside of Steyrs, coming up to 1 lap to go, Mikey.
White Silk is out, and that's the battle right now. But look at the 57 trying to poke his nose into the business. It is the 23 and the 19. Joey Steyrs on the inside will have the position, and looks like he's going to go away with it here as the 19 on the outside at the disadvantage. But your top 3 is going to be Roger Down, Chris Roma, and I believe Joey Steyrs, but they're showing on my board Ryan Walsh.
Third place finisher was, in fact, the 23 of Joey Steyrs. Ryan Walsh was 4th place, the first man out. Completing your top 5 finishers was the 57 of Corey Hallett. Todd Tufson, 6th. 7th place finisher, the 67 of Wade Cresswell. Jake Scrivens is 8th. And then Ryan Messer credited with that 9th place finish. Also DNSing out of heat race number 2. So we got heat race number 3 getting on the grid. Hopefully all 9 of them will show up for this one.
And sitting on a pole, Newfoundland Torbay native 41 Jason Goss. He's going to have the 42 of Mark Williams on the front row of this heat race number 3.
TJ Medor in the number 7 starting 3rd in the 3rd heat race, and Bandolero driver Campbell Delaney in the number 9 starting 4th.
Car number 51, Nick Potier, he will complete your top 5 starters in position number 5, and Daniel Vitch's number 29 ride will roll off in position number 6 on the outside.
And in row number 4, the 11 car of Caleb Urquhart. He's going to have the 08 of Trevor Lamb, and still not into the server just yet. Completing the field will be the 196 of Caden Frizzell. So a couple of drivers that were supposed to be in heats. Hopefully they'll make it for the LCQs, but that's 2 drivers now that have not made it to their heat race.
A lot of young drivers in this field, guys. Seeing Campbell Delaney, I believe Nick is a younger driver along with Daniel. Caleb, I think, is around 20 years old. He might be a bit younger than that, in his teens maybe. And Cadence, well, he raced at my dirt track in the Valley, went for a wild ride in his first race ever. But we're in iRacing land, and what a start there by the 41. Jason Goss shot out of a cannon on the start. Green flag is out for heat race number 3, Kyle.
Goss was not messing around at all. He wanted to leave the field and did a great job of doing that. He'll lead lap number 1. Back behind him, TJ Medora in that beautiful number 7 car will get around the 42 of Mark Williams. And as soon as that happens, Williams is around and he nearly launches himself off one of these sand dunes surrounding the light pole down there in turn number 2. You can see the damage on the left front fender from that one happening, so a great time there for Medora to get around the 42 machine, and Mark Williams finding early trouble here on lap number 2 of heat race number 3. Paul, that one almost got very wild for you.
Very wild indeed, and we're actually going to take a look at the inside of the cockpit here of the number 42 machine of Mark Williams, and you can see the back end of the car. Well, he gets a little bit of help, I think. He gets a little bit of a nudge. He loses the back end of the race car, gets a little shot there, saves it, straightens it out, and then hits the jump right back into the racing groove. So could have been a whole lot worse than it was. There you see it was real close between he and the 08 car, but a little bit of front end damage. It's going to be restarting in the back of the pack, but I think he's still going to have some time to maybe work up to a top 3.
I think we're going to have to take notes, boys. This TCM weekly series that's going to be every week at Oxford Plains, I think we should have an award for biggest error of the season.
Yes. Mark works at the airport, so it works perfectly.
If it's a big enough prize, I think we're going to see quite a few throughout the season here.
There was a handful last spring when we were doing a bunch of the iRacing at different tracks where you got the giant sand piles there. People were doing the full Dukes of Hazzard move. Now, caution laps do count in the heat races, the LCQs, and the main event tonight. So that's going to be one thing. There's a lot of wrecks. That's going to chew up a lot of lap time and a lot of opportunity for drivers to work their way through the field. You got a guy like Nick Pache in the 51. He's sitting in 3rd, but Daniel Vitch in the 51, he's in 4th. We're kind of pacing around here. There's less opportunity for that young driver to try and get in the top 3.
Yeah, Kyle, I think I like that 5th position, though, on the inside Trevor Lane, because we've seen Jason Goss fire off pretty good here, and he's going to fire once again and hold him off, but great run there for Jason Goss, Kyle.
Another great restart for the 41 machine. TJ Amador will be able to slide down in front of Pache for that 2nd place position and leave the 51 back in P3. Caleb Urquhart putting all kinds of pressure and puts the bumper to Pache for position number 3, scoots him out of the way, and now Urquhart will take that position over, but he made a slight mistake there, opened up the bottom. Pache will stay at bay, but look at that 11 machine. He is still out of shape. He can't quite get back to the bottom.
Street stock versus the Bandolero driver for the battle for 3rd. Urquhart throws the giant block in front of the 51. Pache trying to make the big show without having to drive some extra laps in that last chance qualifier. A little further back, you can see the cars slamming into each other, trying to gain every single position they can. Trevor Lamb and Daniel Vitch in the 29 car just going for every position you can go for right now, Mike.
A lot of door-to-door action between Vetch and Lamb, as they know they don't have a lot of time here, but possibly we're still under green flag if you can get it going here. No caution has drawn here, but the 9-car Campbell Delaney is back in action. They did not throw the caution. They're looking for a clean finish here to the end. Jason Goss, your leader, is going to be TJ Medor, but Nick Pache holding on to that pressure. Transfer spot. Daniel Vitch now on the outside looking in on the 51. But we have white silk in the sky, Kyle.
And now the checkered flag will fly over the 41 of Jason Goss. A dominating heat race for that 41 machine. He'll win it. TJ Medor will finish in position number 2, and the 3rd and final transfer position goes to that 51 of Nick Pache. One spot out in car number 11. We saw the aggression out of him. Look for him to be the same in the last chance qualifiers. That is Caleb Urquhart. Trevor Lamb completes the top 5 with Mark Williams, Daniel Vitch, Campbell Delaney, and Cadence Frizzell completing your field. So there are 3 heat races in, gentlemen, 1 more 12-lap qualifying race to go, and then we get to Dylan's hooligan races after that.
I'm pulling a term from my buddy Denver Matchett from Speedway Miramichi. That's what he was calling those LCQs when we were doing that giant race a couple weeks ago, Kyle.
You know, I love the term. Honestly, up here in New York, we usually use consi or consolation, but I kind of like hooligan. It's new, it's unique, and honestly, it's kind of funny.
We're blending things, right? The border may be shut down between us physically, but in iRacing, it's still open, and we're sharing different ideas. And this is the last heat race to make the show without having to drive in one of those hooligan races. And John Fitzpatrick and Goodwin in the 24 starting on the front row.
Brett Suggs from the United States, North Carolina is going to be on the inside of row number 3 in the 33 machine. He's going to have Chantel Pottle representing the ladies from Newfoundland. The 05 machines on the outside of row number 2.
5th place starter, driving car number 38, a new look for Travis Roma on that ride for this new series. He'll roll off there in P5, and on the outside of him, a new number for Tony Wright, usually the driver of the number 93 machine. Tonight he starts 6th in the 09.
And completing the field, the 157 of John Byron, and the 8 car of Ryan Twinham.
That's what I was waiting for you to pronounce that.
Yeah, you didn't want to jump in there. That's why you threw it. What
My
a
cat
guy.
was purring. What am I supposed to do? The cat was scratching the door. What do you want me to do?
Man, oh man. Dylan Landjaw.
Magic Man. All fame.
You know, you call it a hooligan, but over here in Newfoundland, I think we're going to call it Tangley. But 78 will get the hammer. John Fitzpatrick has a nice start as Jake Goodwin trying to time it, but he's going to battle right now with Brett Suggs. Suggs with the advantage at the bottom tries to come out in front of the 24, but look at that. Travis Roma in the 38 on the run.
And that's the inside lane, Kyle, that you really want. That's something I really noticed is car flip that curb on the bottom, including Goodwin. You need to get that car right on the inside. You notice Jake Goodwin was sort of hanging on the outside. He tried to crank that down left as quick as he could, and he's in front of Roma right now in that final transfer spot.
Top 5 cars kind of got a bit of a breakaway here on the first few laps around the Oxford Plains Speedway. The 157 of John Baran, I believe is how that is pronounced. About a second ahead of the number 8 machine of Ryan Twinham there in position number 6th. So those 4 cars, 2nd through 5th, pretty tightly packed. John Fitzpatrick, he's got a little over half a second back to Brett Suggs. So pretty calm and even start here for heat race number 4. These guys settling in and trying to figure out what they need to do to get ahead of their competition.
Goodwin almost got in trouble with that lip there coming around a corner. Almost opened the door for Travis Roma. But single file action for our top 5. And this is going to be pretty interesting, boys. A lot of top drivers in this heat race. So Travis Roma, no veteran here at Oxford. So we'll see what he has for us as he's going to show some patience here as we cross the halfway point. 6 laps completed of the 12-lap heat race.
And unlike the other 3 heat races, we got Pottle slow on the inside right now. Tony Wright, pardon me, in the 09 slow on the bottom, so they move out of the way of the leaders. With the other heat races, they had a few cautions here and there, so there wasn't a long green flag run. Right now, we haven't had a caution, knock on wood, with Fitzpatrick leading the entire way. But one of the lone soldiers from the US of A, Brett Suggs, all over the back of the 78 from Prince Edward Island. For that battle for third, though, boys and Kyle, that is really starting to intensify with Goodwin having a whole lot of card. Here's rear mirror, and that's Travis Roma.
You're absolutely right, Dylan. The top 2 have run away from Jake Goodwin, and unfortunately for Goodwin, his back bumper is starting to get used up by the 38 of Travis Roma. Roma knows he needs that spot to get in. Goodwin knows that he needs to hang on to it. He bounces off the curb just a little bit there in the center of 3 and 4. Popsicle sticks fly. 2 laps remaining here in this final heat race. How aggressive do we see Travis Roma here get in the final lap and a half? Goodwin's doing good, but there's still another lap to decide it.
White Silk's going to come out, and Goodwin will want to hold on to that precious position, but it's going to be Travis Roma. Will we see a little exchange of black paint on the back of that Napa machine as Roma comes around the corner? It's going to be looking like it's going to be Goodwin, but he's going to throw it in here, boys. Looks like John Fitzpatrick's going to run away with this. He is your official heat race number 4 winner. All right, Brett Suggs and Jake Goodwin for your top 3.
So now we're moving on to those hooligan races, fellas.
Tangly.
Tangly race, these tangly hooligan races, they're going to be intense, especially when you got a guy like Tufts, who was knocked out of the way earlier by Tanton Woolridge. Tanton's in this race. Tully, pardon me. The 5 was the guy who got knocked around, and they're in the same LCQ. This is going to get really intense, again, just like the heat races you just saw here on Tim's Corner and Vidane TV, and we want to thank all of you for watching on a Wednesday night. Top 3 move on to the big show tonight. Well, it's a big show. 35 laps in these LCQ hooligan tangly races.
Your pole sitter for the first one, driving car number 2, is Todd Cousins. And the outside pole sitter, who actually will not be starting on the outside of the pole. We did get confirmation from race control after heat race number 3, I believe it was. I think he may have been the one that had to do with Campbell Delaney getting spun out on the back straightaway, so he's going to be sent to the tail to start this one out. So that is going to move the 08 of Trevor Lamb to the outside pole.
And David Cassidy is going to start on the inside, and the outside is going to have the 56 of Tanton Woolridge.
Mark Williams and Matt Odell line up to be behind them. Matt Odell isn't call yet. So alongside in the number 29, Daniel Vitch from the Rock is going to be in this field.
And completing your top 10, we've got the 5 machine of Craig Tully and that aforementioned number 109 of Campbell Delaney. Chris Ewing also slated to start at the back of this 11-car consolation event, but a quick check shows that he is not yet on the racetrack. He's actually not even in the server, so unfortunately for Chris Ewing, he was able to show up and get in at some point, but he will be one of the many drivers that will not be in tonight's season-opening 100-lap event.
Yeah, the 28 machine of Matt Odell is not showing up on the screen as well. Not sure if he's having server issues as well, but complete now all the way to the back. Started on the front row, but moved all the way to the back from the incident. It's going to be the 11 car of Caleb Urquhart. So some big dogs in here. 35 laps are going to be on the board. Pace cars out of the way, and the 2 car of Todd Cousin drops the hammer, Dylan.
Huge start there for the number 2, and wow, we're 3 wide there in turn 1. Wow, Tanton Woolridge on the inside, Mark Williams in that sandwich, and the car on the outside drifting back, the 08 as we're going through. That's Trevor Lamb, one of the owners of Kent Vincent's car in the Maritime Parts of Trucks Pro Stock Tour, driving from Ontario, an Islander in his heart. But he's not having an easy go on that outside. He's going to try and get in the inside lane there, Kyle, or he's going to keep falling back.
He's got an opening in front of Caleb Urquhart in position number 6. That is obviously not at all what that 08 machine wanted to do. He was the beneficiary of Urquhart starting at the back of the field. He got to start on the outside of row number 1, but was not able to make the most of it as he falls in line in position number 6. And it looks like he's starting to lose touch with the cars up in front of him. Guys, this is a very, we actually got a spinner going down into pit road. That's the 29 of Daniel Vitch. He is all by his lonesome. The caution flag is still in its holster at the moment. No contact for that Toyota Camry. He'll duck through pit road. That might actually give him a penalty. So not good for the 29 of Daniel Vitch.
Well, Vitch is going to come out in front of the leaders. Not a good sign, but he's going to be patient and stay to the bottom here and not come out in front of the leaders. But Todd Cousins, after 5 laps completed, still controlling this rate with Dave Cassidy in pursuit. Tanton Woolridge in the top finishes your top 3. A lot of single file races we're seeing so far throughout the first 4 heats, and in this last chance qualifier, a lot of grip on the bottom. A bit of that rubber is starting to make its way into the midline, and maybe a factor once we get into the 100 lap main event there, Dylan.
The cool thing with this weekly racing series, dynamic weather. So the weather changes every week. Looks pretty cloudy right now here at Oxford Plains. Tim Terry, the great Tim Terry, was mentioning it was about 78 degrees for the temperature. Warmer on the track, of course, as these drivers lay down some rubber. Looking at the top 5, it's Cousins, Cassidy, Woolridge, and then Mark Williams and Craig Tully. And if we remember, Woolridge and Tully were the ones tussling for one of those final spots. In fact, they were going for the win, and they took each other out, and now they're in the LCQ hooligan race. They got to try and make it to the big show tonight. Tully in 5th in that number 5 car, Kyle.
It's a very interesting format here for these consolation races, guys. 35 laps in length. That is a long time. It's just over a third of the length of the actual feature race. So these guys having a good opportunity. You don't ever want to be in this race. You always want to transfer in as soon as you can, but if you're one of these guys that can transfer in, I would like to think that there's probably a decent advantage given to you by having so many laps out on the racetrack, and especially in a closer state to what the track is going to be like for the feature event.
Well, that top 8 that qualified early did not have to fight their way into the main, so they're just sitting back enjoying the show right now. But Todd Cousins and Dave Cassidy want to check out of here because they want some clean air. They do not want to be in the mix once we get into the final 10 laps, because I got a feeling that definition of hooligan will come into play once we get closer to the finish.
I'm sure some bumpers will be thrown around tonight, a little chrome horn action as we are single file all around the racetrack, with Cousins still pacing the field, the Pied Piper here in the LCQ number 1 race. Cassidy in the 13 and second. Tanton Woolridge, that is the final transfer spot to make round number 1 of the TCM Weekly iRacing Series. The kickoff tonight here on December 2nd. And we've got Mark Williams and Tully still in 4th and 5th, but the top 5, you could really throw a blanket over top of them, Kyle.
Yeah, you could. It seems as these laps continue to click off, these guys get tighter and tighter packed together, which is going to make that battle for the final transfer position even more fun. Adding on to it the fact that Tanton Woolridge, who was the aggressor in the situation with Craig Tully, is now ahead of Craig Tully, and Tully is going to be the one charging to get to him to take over a transfer position. So we're approaching the halfway point right now, Mike. We've been caution-free throughout the entirety of this one thus far, but as we continue to click the laps away, running out of opportunity, this is it. This is their final opportunity, so you got to make things happen in this race.
Well, we're at cross flags there as we pass lap 18, but checking in on the lap times right now. The quickest car on the track throughout this last chance qualifier is Tanton Woolridge by almost 5/100ths of a second. So without that 13 and the 2 car, I got a funny feeling that Woolridge will have an advantage here if he can get by our top 2.
Ooh, David Cassidy threw a little nose there to our leader, Cousins. And speaking of nose, Craig Tully's throwing his nose underneath the number 42, Mark Williams. Boys, with about 15 laps to go, we have a race here in Hooligan Race number 1. The top 5 all bunched together. I don't know if you can throw a solid bet on who's going to finish 1st, 2nd, or 3rd here, Kyle, because I got a feeling there's going to be some swapping positions here shortly.
And you're going to see it right now. Well, maybe not. David Cassidy got to the inside of Todd Cousins. Didn't like the amount of room he had, so he backed out and let Cousins hang on to that race lead, but you can see he's starting to get antsy. The 42 and the 5 are starting to get a little bit more tightly packed. Craig Tully has taken a few looks underneath of the Pepsi Max number 42, and now he may try to apply the bumper to the back bumper of Mark Williams. Doesn't look like that happened, but these guys are definitely starting to ramp up the energy just a little bit. It'll be 12 laps to go this time by. Todd Cousins still hanging on to a very narrow lead, but things starting to heat up here. The bumper contact there. Craig Tully did nudge Mark Williams that time.
Yeah, a little bit of black paint on that 5 car, Craig Tully. You getting a little bit frustrated. You know, on the bottom here, that curve down on the bottom really is dangerous if you're trying to take the inside. And on the outside, not a lot of grip, so very difficult to pass around here. But I got a funny feeling Tanton Woolridge is going to want to get out of here, because I got a feeling he's thinking that the 5 car is going to come up through.
There's no diving deep as you're going to clip that curve. You may go flying like it's an episode of the Dukes of Hazzard. Cousins is starting to grow his lead little by little in front of David Cassidy. Cassidy did stick his nose in there a handful of laps ago. Tanton Woolridge, he's in the middle of a sandwich he probably doesn't want to be in right now. Of course, he wants to be in that final transfer spot, but he's got a battle up in front of him, and he's got a bigger battle behind him currently, Kyle.
I can only imagine that Tanton's eyes are focused on that rear view mirror, almost like he's racing on a super speedway right now, trying to see what Mark Williams is doing, where he's moving, what he's going to go, how aggressive he's going to be. You're riding on board with Woolridge right now, looking out the front windshield as he's looking up at the top 2, Todd Cousins and Dave Cassidy, still trying to stay focused and hang on to that 3rd place position. It looks like, though, the battle behind him is a little bit more fierce. Craig Tully has been all over the back bumper of Mark Williams. He knows he's got to get around Williams because there's one more car he has to pass after that. and he's not forgotten about that heat race incident. And there it is. He's trying to apply the bumper once again. He just cannot quite move Mark Williams out of his way.
A little foreshadowing to the main event, and I got a feeling we're going to see a lot of this once we get into the final 100 laps. 5 laps completed, and got to give props to these top 5. A lot of brake checking right now and running a clean show as we count down the laps. Todd Cousins dominant out front by almost a car length now on Cassidy, but just keep an eye on the 5 car. Craig Tully, there's a scrub to the back bumper on the 42 as frustration is playing a big deal right now with the 5.
Man, is this a cleaning commercial or racing? Mr. Clean, a little bit of a scrub, a little bit of a move there. Coming up to 3 laps to go, Todd Cousins is still leading. He has led every lap so far. Cassidy in second, and PEI's Tanton Woolridge in third. And boys, we're coming up to some traffic. There's a slow car coming in front of the leaders. Will one of these cars be able to use that as an advantage to try and move up? Maybe even Tully as he sticks his nose underneath Mark Williams again, Kyle.
If you're Craig Tully, you got to get aggressive. You got to do it now. You've got 2 cars to pass in a lap and a half. You've got to make something happen here. Out of turn number 4, the white flag will fly for Todd Cousins. Keep your eye on that 08 machine of Trevor Lamb. He may be a factor in this one. He's right on the bottom for the moment. I think he's going to open up the inside going into turn 3 here. Looks like he's going to actually stay on the lead lap, and as they come out of turn number 4, they all stay lined up, and Todd Cousins is going to win the first consolation event of the evening. He will transfer to the 100-lap feature event along with Dave Cassidy in the 13 and Tanton Woolridge in the 56. Mark Williams and Craig Tully, they were not able to make it happen. They will go home tonight along with Campbell Delaney, Trevor Lamb, Matt Odell, Daniel Vitch, Caleb Urquhart, and I believe there's another driver or 2 that went. Matt Odell and Chris Ewing, who we mentioned did not start as well. Those drivers will go home. One final qualifying race to go. One more 35-lap hooligan event. And then we will have our, I believe it will be 26-car field set for our opening feature event of the season.
Well, boys, that was not as tangly as I thought it was going to be, but maybe we will see it in hooligan race number 2. And we're gridding already, Dylan. On the front row, the 19 car from Conception Bay, South Newfoundland. That's Ryan Walsh. He's going to have the 38 machine, and Travis Roman, that black and gold machine.
Row number 2, the 57, Corey Howlett and John Byron in the 157, starting 4th in this last hooligan race.
Todd Tufts in car number 72 will line up in position number 5, and he will have the 8 of Ryan Twinham on his outside, starting in position number 6.
And in row number 4, the 67 car, Wade Craswell, will have Chantel Pottle from Newfoundland in the 05 on the outside.
Jake Scrivens and Tony Wright at the back of the field. Ryan Messer and Cadence Frizzell. It looks like they're not going to be answering the call, boys, so 2 less cars to go for the top 3. Try and make the first TCM Weekly iRacing Series event here at Oxford Plains Speedway. That was a super clean hooligan race we just saw with Tanton Woolridge squeezing his way into the 100-lap feature coming up in a little bit. Who's going to make it this time?
Caution-free 35-lap race. We'll see if that is the case for hooligan race number 2. Once again, we will take the top 3 finishers in this one to the show. There will be a quick 2-minute warm-up in between, and then we will be on the grid for the 100-lap feature event. So what do we think, guys? Is it going to be clean, or are we going to see some more aggression out of this one?
I got a funny feeling this one's going to be nasty. A little freaking nasty on the back in the mid-pack. But front row, I got a feeling that Ryan Walsh and Travis Romo will try to check out here. As the pace car is out, Ryan Walsh hits the hammer, gets a nice jump on Travis Romo, but look at this. The outside, a lot of cars on the outside with that less grip. You want to tuck back in, but we got the 72 is off looking for a double-double at Tim Hortons on the infield.
Yeah, it looks like they're moonlighting as the guy who mows the lawn playing Speedway. That's not how you're going to make the big race here. 4 off the pace as well, so boys, a handful of cars already off the pace. That's Jay Scrivens, who started further in the field. So that basically eliminates Tufts and Scrivens. We keep going on here with Newfoundland's Ryan Walsh, Travis Roma in the 57 Hallett in the final transfer spot. He's got a little bit of room between himself and the 4th position car, Kyle.
Yeah, that he does the top 3 pretty comfortable at the start of this event. That 4th place car, John Byron, in car number 157, the first man out. He's been able to gap Ryan Twinham by about 0.6 of a second or so, trying to track down Corey Hallett for that 3rd and final transfer. You got Todd Tufts in the 72, riding right in front of race leader Ryan Walsh. He will hold his line on the bottom of the racetrack. Walsh will have to go the long way around the 72 on the outside line, but he is able to clear. He'll hang on to the bottom side, so Travis Roman can do the same. So far, everybody managing the lap traffic fairly nicely, but Todd Tufts, unfortunately, he's going to need a caution flag if he's going to have an opportunity to transfer tonight.
That 72 definitely gave some assistance to the 19 car of Ryan Walsh as he managed to pick up a bit of real estate now on Travis Roma as he checks out by about 3 car lengths. But now we got a big field difference right now with the 72, but we have a caution here on lap number 7. The 57 machine of John Byron, who's running 3rd at the time, is off in the distance.
That looks like it's Corey Hallett there, maybe, who was running in the top 3.
Oh, we have 2 157s. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we do. That's
yes,
not good.
bye. Oh, yes, bye.
No, bye. We had a couple of 57s tangle there.
Stay there till it comes to you.
Well, now we got our good buddy there, Showtime, Paul Strickland. What happened?
Well, the 57 was on the inside of the 57, and it looks like they were trying to be the same 57 car, and that just doesn't work because that's physically impossible. It doesn't look like it was a big hit or anything like that. 157 gets off scot-free, and the 57, you see, he's going to be able to grab a gear, get rolling down the hill again. Doesn't lose a lap, doesn't damage the car, still has plenty of time here to see if he can make a top 3 finish.
Now, Dilla, I told you it was Johnny Byron. You didn't believe me. Arr.
The graphics showed the other 57.
Whatever.
It was John Byron getting into Corey Hallett, the 157 and the 57. There I said
That's
it was
exactly what I was saying, Kyle.
So unfortunately for those 2 drivers, they will both be moved to the tail end of the field. And as I just mentioned, fortunate break there for the 72 at Todd Tufts. He gets the free pass. He is back on the lead lap, so now he has an opportunity to recover from an early race spin. Unfortunately for that 4 machine of Jake Scrivens, things just did not go his way. I believe he may have missed the start for this hooligan event. He is 5 laps down, so barring a miracle here, he will not be transferring to the 100 lapper tonight.
I think the 4 car of Jake Scrivens heard that the 72 was going for a double-double, and he heard might be donuts in the infield, but he checked out early. But we're going to get back to action. Ryan Walsh will be your leader on the restart here. Travis Roman's going to start on the outside once again. Very difficult here in the iRacing compared to real-life racing. To be on the outside line, it's very difficult to see what your competitor's when they're gonna jump. Are they gonna jump early? Once that pace car gets out of the way, they have that opportunity to set off early or actually hold back the field a little bit. But we've seen quite a few different strategies over the 2020 season, boys. It'll be interesting to see what the 19 has for us on this restart.
Yeah, the outside doesn't really seem to be developing currently, although we got some rubber laying on the road. The pace car pulls in, lap 12, a number of laps left to go. Newfoundland's Ryan Walsh, big restart, green flag is back out, and Twinham on the inside grabs 2nd there from Roma, and Roma now in the transfer spot with a whole lot of cars in his mirror.
Little side-by-side action going on deeper in the field. Tony Wright in the 09 machine stuck on that outside line looking for a hole to fill in. There may be one in between the 57 machines. That is filled by Corey Hallett, so he will not be able to slide in. Tony Wright on the outside looking for a way to get down, and he needs to do so in a hurry. He's dropped all the way back to position number 8. We got a little more battling going on for a transfer spot further up through the field. Wade Craswell in the 67 gets around the 38 of Travis Roma and takes over position number 3.
Not a lot of grip on that outside, but definitely going to play a factor on the restarts because I believe Travis Roma kind of spun out there on the restart and he's facing the 4th position. Now he's going to be on the outside looking in on the 67 of Wade Craswell. He's in that precious transfer spot as we're getting close to the halfway point as we complete or get into lap number 17 of 35. Your top three is Ryan Walsh at 8, and Wade Cradwell. But here comes the bumper from Travis Roma.
Halfway, cross flags, cross sticks in the air. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with Travis Roma. I mean, I don't know if he maybe clipped the curb a little bit and got thrown up to the top of the track. Either way, he's on the outside looking in, and Wade Craswell has a whole lot of Travis Roma in the mirror, but he's also got a whole lot of the number 8 car in his front. Craswell moves up the track. That's not going to work. That's going to open a huge door for Roma, and as Craswell tries and goes around Twinham in the number 8 car, but then again, are we going 3 wide, boys? We are nearly going 3 wide in turn. Contact. Craswell hits Twinham, and that's going to domino the field further back. We are still green flag racing, and up to P2 now is Travis Roma, and the 67 of Craswell falls back, but he's going to try and tuck underneath the number 8.
Twinham and Craswell battling for the final transfer spot. Sideways is Chantal Pottle behind these two drivers. Craswell would take the position over. Twinham has to fall back to 4th, and now we're nearly 3 wide. Hang on, Pottle in the 05. Going around off of turn number 4, spinning down to pit road, single car spin, no caution flag, getting it back going again. Tough break for the 05 machine, nearly a lap down now as Ryan Walsh closing in on the back bumper of that car.
Unfortunately for Chantal Powell, the lone female here tonight, getting the bumper from the 72 machine of Todd Tufts. That's going to end her night, as she's not going to be able to come back from this now, as we complete 23 laps, or 24 laps. 23 laps completed, my bad. 11 to go here for Ryan Walsh, as he's now going to come up on lap traffic and hopefully open the door for the rest of the field to try to sneak up.
Travis Roma has pulled away from Wade Craswell, and Wade Craswell has a good distance in front of 4th place right now, John Byron. So a change of positions as we're going through this race. The field was stacking up earlier, and now Pottle will let the faster car of Roma go underneath her as we're winding down the last hooligan race to get your entry spot in tonight's TCM Weekly iRacing Series event, the debut here at Oxford Plains Speedway. Ryan Walsh is driving as if it's the Daytona 500 right now. He is getting some distance from the field, but don't count out Travis Roma yet. Kyle, looks like Travis Roma may be one of the fastest cars on the track.
Yeah, Roma has absolutely been cutting that gap down on race leader Ryan Walsh. We'll see what it is this time by. He chopped off another 10th right there. It's now down to 7/10 of a second with just 8 laps to go. Can Travis Roma maybe steal the win and get a little glory here in this final hooligan race? You're checking out Wade Craswell right now in position number 3. You can see the 157 of John Byron. He has worked his way back through the field and has taken advantage of some of that cluster that's gone on. And now he is only about half a second behind Wade Craswell for that final transfer spot, so don't count out the 157 of Byron just yet. He might have something to say for this 100-lapper.
I think that's going to be the action for the night here, but Travis Roma now closing the gap on Ryan Walsh, but Johnny Byron in the 157 is going to be looking for that precious transfer spot. 5 to go. 5 laps to go here. Ryan Walsh got a full mirror of the 38 of Travis Roma.
Travis Roma has caught up to the leader, coming up 4 laps to go. The last chance to make the big dance tonight. Walsh opens up a huge door for Roma. Now, granted, these two drivers, if they keep it clean, they're going to move on to the big race tonight, so it's not super important. I think Walsh recognizes, yeah, Travis is a little faster than me. There's no point blocking, no point wasting up and using my race car. I'll let him go by right now because we're guaranteed to make the race, and we have a 2-second lead over 3rd place, Wade Craswell. Kyle, 2 laps to go. We know these two drivers are probably safe. The battle for 3rd, not so much. Craswell's got Byron all over him.
Well, actually, Dylan, Craswell has actually gapped John Byron. He's more than doubled that gap back to Byron. So now Wade Craswell, as they come to take the white flag, he's in a pretty comfortable spot of his own right now. Looks like, barring something crazy happening, the top 3 that are in the position are going to transfer on. Will rejoin Travis Roma at the front of the field and take him to the checkered flag. Travis Roma will win Hooligan race number 2 here at the Oxford Plains Speedway. Ryan Walsh will finish in position number 2, and grabbing that third and final transfer spot is the 67 of Wade Craswell. These drivers unfortunately did not make it and will head to the house for week number 1 of this series. They include the 157 of John Byron, the 57 of Corey Hallett, Todd Tufts in the 72, Ryan Twinham in the 8, Tony Wright in the 09, Chantel Pottle in the 05, and Jake Scrivens in the 4. And then you have the 2 cars that did not start, the 1 of Ryan Messer and the 196 of Cadence Frizzell. So there we have it, boys. We have a qualifying session, 4 heat races and 2 hooligan races in the books. We have our 26-car field set for tonight's 100-lap season opener for the TCM Weekly Series here at Oxford Plains Speedway.
It's going to be a good one, boys.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to have a bit of time here with this warm-up. We're going to have a sneak peek on some times here as the drivers get comfortable before we open this up with 100 laps. But, boys, we didn't get to see the top 8 as they qualified in the early parts. So a lot of these guys that were in the heat races and the last chance got quite a bit of opportunity to check out the track and conditions here tonight. So it'll be interesting to see what our top 8 does in the first 4 rows.
And one of the interesting things about this series, guys, is that this is an open setup series, something that we haven't seen too often across the TCM races. So these guys not only have the opportunity to check out the racetrack here for a little bit, they have an opportunity to adjust their cars to counter for the racetrack, making some changes. And while we have a quick opportunity here before we get to the grid, Tim Terry has jumped over from next door in the race control booth to join us. Tim, we've seen some good stuff tonight up here in the broadcast booth. What have things been like for the race control guys?
So far, so good. I think we saw that in that last chance qualifier where John Byron got close and used it up over, I think, just the last couple of laps there. Had a great effort. This is going to be a fun show, I think. It's 100 laps, not a whole lot of time to work, but we've got a really good group of guys here that are racing with us. We've got 26 really good race car drivers. I think this is going to be an enjoyable race.
Tend to agree with Tim there. We've seen the qualification races and how everything has played out thus far. Some pretty good stuff. I'll be very interested to watch these top 8 guys. They've been sitting on their hands for a little while. They just got on the racetrack to lay some laps down. Now it's time to go forward. We are ready to take the grid for tonight's 100 lapper. The first race of the TCM Weekly Series is about to go green, and here's how we will line them up. Your pole sitter, fastest in qualifying at the top of the night, the number 16 machine of John Gahan, and he will have the 02 machine, well actually the 2 car on his iRacing paint scheme. The 2 machine of Ashton Tucker will be in position number 2.
And on the inside of row number 2, the 15 machine of Matthew Barkhouse will get that start, and 30 car Keith Daddy Mac McClellan will be on the outside.
Row number 3, 2 drivers I'm not super familiar with, but excited to see them race tonight. Cody Moorcroft in the 80 and Nick Mott in the 52.
Row number 4 and completing your top 8 fastest from qualifying. In 7th is the 141 of Rational Richard Drake, and he will have the 89 of Conrad Murphy to his outside in P8.
And in row number 5 on the inside, the 97 Duncan, his partner in crime on the outside, the 21 car of Roger Down.
Roger that. Jason Goss from the Rock in the 41, starting in the 11th position. Dynamite fast there in the heat races, along with Prince Edward Island's John Fitzpatrick in the 78 and 12.
The inside row of row number 7 will have the 17 of Brad Hayes in it, and 14th place starter in car number 83. Did not have to see the same fate his brother did, Chris Roma. He's in 14th place.
And in row number 8, TJ Medor in the 7 machine, he's going to have the North Carolina native, the 33 machine of Brett Suggs. That's a big, deep field for Brett Suggs to come up through.
Starting 17th in the 024, Derek Gates. In the 23, about to answer the call, Joey Steyer starting 18th tonight.
Wrapping up your top 20, in 19th place is the 51 of Nick Pachier, and 20th place in the 24 is Jake Goodwin.
And row number 11, that's Todd Cousins in the 2 car. He's got the 38 machine who just qualified. It's Travis Roma.
Towards the back of the field, the 13, David Cassidy, 24th, Ryan Walsh. Tanton Woolridge and Wade Craswell at the back of the field. Boys, 100 laps here at Oxford Plains.
Oh.
Green flag is out. Oh, no problem for Gahan in the 16. He spins out on the green flag.
just by himself, though, boys. Just laid the hammer down. Just did not get the grip and came around on himself.
You have to wonder, guys, if that's the disadvantage that John Gahan has had sitting all night long, not getting track time by being your pole sitter. Makes the mistake, too much throttle, spins the tires, goes around, and brings out the first caution in our first Kick-Ass Beef Jerky instant replay of the feature event.
Real tough to see it. You just called it just like it was, Kyle. Got a little bit overzealous with that gas pedal. And John's he's been sitting all night long watching the Vidane TV broadcast down there in the shop. He qualified up front, didn't have to run through any of the heat races, Conti races, hooligan races, Tangley races, any of that stuff. So tires were cool and the driver were cool, and unfortunately just kind of gave it a little bit too much there on the start.
Well, a lot more.
Holy. What a way, Mike, there to sort of ruin your night. I mean, this is a 100-lap race, and you had the pole, and now you're going to be starting at the back of the pack.
Maybe Tim threw him a pole challenge to get things going here. He's going to have a tough time now. He's going to go all the way to the back by himself now and try to work up through this huge field of 24 drivers in front of him. So, unfortunately for John Gahan, got to hammer down a little too much.
Well, things are going to be a little rocky here on this caution period to try to get everybody sorted out. iRacing doesn't tend to like caution flags coming out right at the start-finish line. So if you're taking a look on your race screen right now, you can see that race leader Ashton Tucker has a bunch of cars in front of him. Those cars are being considered on the tail end of the lead lap here. So nobody has actually lost a lap. It's just because of the timing of how quickly the caution flag was and how many cars still had to cross over the start-finish line to take the green flag. Caution had already come out before that. So Ashton Tucker right there on your screen, the red number 2 car, he is your race leader. All of those cars in front of him, they will have to take the wave around to get back caught up to the field. So I would expect, with this being a very small short track here, guys, that we're probably going to extend the caution by a lap or two, make sure that everybody's properly lined up in their correct positions, they're caught up with the field, and they have a fair shot on this restart.
Well, this
Ashton Tucker, go ahead.
I was going to say this early caution is definitely going to play with pit road. Last night we've seen a bit of pit road activity at lap number 75. We'll lose 7 or 8 laps here.
Yeah, and Ashton had the fastest car in that short time trial as the rest of the field gets the wave round. So Ashton, fast in real life and fast on iRacing as they'll line up behind the pace car. The rest of the field will get behind the rest of the field. Kind of a weird restart, as you were mentioning there, Kyle. iRacing just seeming to have some tech gremlins here, just trying to get the field sorted out. So with Gahan spinning out on the start, that means Matthew Barkhouse will be moving up to the first row in the second position, as I believe maybe next lap we'll get the field doubled up here and get fired off. Lights are off. I think we're going racing here, Kyle.
I believe you're going to be correct on that one, Dylan. Now, with these guys having to take a wave around, I'm not necessarily sure if all of them are going to be double file or not. They may force them to start single file, so this may be a bit of a weird restart here, but at least everybody should be caught up to the field, and we should be ready to go here. That does appear to be the case. We only got the top 2 rows side by side. Everybody else suffering single file. We're back to green flag racing. Here we go. Ashton Tucker will lead the field down into turns 1 and 2. Matthew Barkhouse running that top side opens up the door for Keith McClellan in that Bud Light number 30 machine on the inside lane. Will he be able to take it off at turn 4? He does not. Barkhouse hangs on to it, but McClellan starting to inch his way further up the door of that number 15. He is a big threat for number 2 in the running order right now, and he takes it going into 3.
Yeah, what a mess of a restart there, as most of the field were single filed. So fortunately we got through it and no caution there, but got on the hammer here, and Ashton Tucker is in control by a couple of car lengths. Battle right now that we're seeing on the screen, the 30 and the 15, but the 15 of Matthew Barkhouse washing up the track just a bit and allowing Keith McClellan to get some real estate here.
Trying to get that real estate early on, pretty important, but again, a good chunk of the race already under caution blast, but we're back green flag racing. As you can see through the field, we're mostly single file, and you can see the Vidane TV score ticker at the top to show where your favorite driver is racing right now. Barkhouse throwing some pressure on Mac Daddy Keith McClellan. Keith is very fast in these iRacing events, but currently very fast, the 02 Ashton Tucker He had a career year this year in his pro stock for Brad Silliker Motorsports in the Maritimes, looking to translate that online as well, coming up to lap number 15 here at Oxford Plains.
Now, you guys can correct me on this one if I'm wrong, because I'm not familiar with Ashton in real life. I believe I've seen that paint scheme on real-life race car photos as well. Is that the scheme that he sports in real life, too?
Identical, Kyle, and that's the one we saw go to Victory Lane in New Brunswick a bunch of times this year. He was the driver in this weird year of 2020. Breakout year, and the cool thing, too, Kyle, he is a guy who has gone from Bandoleros to legend cars, and now he is one of the top pro stock drivers in Atlantic Canada. Not many drivers can say that, and right now he's got a big lead over the number 30.
Yeah, we're seeing a couple of cars washing up outside the grip here now, and that's not a place you want to be here at Ford. These laps are counting down pretty quick, as now we're coming up on lap number 19 of 100. This is going to go pretty quick, boys, as everybody is playing nicely here tonight. One of the great things we're seeing so far, a lot of people staying honest with that inside line. We're not seeing a lot of people dipping to the bottom here. But one car on the move, Jason Goss now coming up through the pack. He's behind the 78 car of John Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, we're seeing some double file racing further back. We're seeing a couple cars getting shuffled out of the way completely. But again, you got to try and get those positions as you can, as we are 2/10 of the way through. Short 100 lap feature tonight at Oxford Plains Speedway. We saw a couple of LCQs go pretty quick, couple hooligan races fly right by with no cautions. Looking through your top 10, Ashton Tucker, sizable lead over Matthew Barkhouse now. Keith McClellan back to third. Nick Mott, Conrad Murphy rounding out the top 5. Rational Richard Drake in 6th. Roger Down in 7th. Riley Duncan, John Fitzpatrick, and Jason Goss in that number 41 in the 10th position. He was really fast in his heat race, getting himself in the show on time, but he's got a big minefield of race cars in front of him, Kyle.
Yeah, we're checking out right now the 78 machine of John Fitzpatrick on your screen, and you just got it from that wider angle there. How many cars are lined up right now in this train? It starts with the 30 machine of Keith McClellan back in position number 3, and it goes all the way through to, I believe, the 80 of Cody Moorcraft. So you got about 10 cars lined up bumper to bumper riding around the bottom of this racetrack here. And it's still very early on. We're only a quarter of the way through once they hit the line this time by, but these guys obviously want to make moves. They want to make passes. There's a lot of cars to do it, to get by, and you don't have a ton of time to do it in. 100 laps on a racetrack where you're running mid 15-second laps, if it stays green, this race will go by quickly. So it'll be fun to see how patient these guys be for now, and when that aggression starts to turn on and these guys start making moves. But it's kind of wild to see this big train of race cars just looping around the track right now.
Yeah, like you said, 12 cars now in a lane. What we see the 78 tipping down low. He's going to get it out of shape, and he's going to get to the bottom here, and he's going to make the pass. And look at that, Jason Goss gets pushed out. The 83 comes out. A couple of two wide actions, but one car in particular we haven't talked about it a lot here tonight, boys, is the 33 machine. Brett Suggs now entered the picture with our freight train from the back all the way to Ashton Tucker.
That would be known as the caboose, I believe.
The caboose.
The caboose. Brett Suggs is stuck a bit further back in the field. You can see right now 13th, and that's not going to pay a whole lot of money. Cool thing, guys, and cool thing if you're watching tonight and you're wondering, well, it's an iRacing series. What's the deal? Actual dollars on the line, a couple of bucks for the winner, and with the points wrapping up in January, chance for a driver to take home a little extra cash. You know, it'll buy a case of beer. Boys, we got a battle for the lead up front. Ashton Tucker's got a whole lot of Matthew Barkhouse in his mirror. Matthew, one of the best iRacers here in Atlantic Canada. And on lap 31, he's wasting no time to try and get to P1.
Not at all surprising to see that beautiful number 15 Zander Sign Group Celtic Air Ford challenging for the race lead early on in this event. Oh, you give it a couple taps there to Ashton Tucker. He's getting him out of shape. Tucker got onto the curb. He did a good job of gathering it up. All right, guys, that's bump number one. Bump number one, he's letting him know he's there. Number two, it's time to move, and if it gets to a third one, Barkhouse is going to move him. But you can see up in front of Ashton Tucker, guys, we're starting to get into lap traffic here in a few laps, so that's going to play a factor into this battle as well.
Yeah, I think Barkhouse really wants to make the move right now in the 2-car. As that lap traffic is going to come into play, Barkhouse is going to be challenged for 2 of them to come at the same time through that field. Very tightly packed lap traffic, I might say. So to get to the outside, to get around this lap traffic is going to be very difficult at this point of the game. With 35 laps completed, this is going to be a quick race here, boys, as we have not seen a lot of tangly situations. A couple 2-wide situations at the tail here, but our leaders coming up hot.
And there is a halfway challenge for these drivers tonight. The Highway 311 North River Market Halfway Award. A couple of bucks going to the driver who is leading at the 50 lap mark. Right now it's Ashton Tucker, but it could be Matthew Barkhouse by lap 50. Who knows? These two drivers could take each other out as they're going to have to traverse through some slow cars here now. We have caught up to the, we'll call it lap traffic, with the 51 directly in front of Ashton Tucker, Kyle.
As we get to lap traffic, you're starting to see Matthew Barkhouse get a little bit more aggressive. And look at Tucker. He sees it. He protected that bottom side a little better. They're going down the back straightaway. If you can even really call it that, this racetrack is just about a complete circle. You don't really ever have that steering wheel at the neutral position going down these straightaways. You're just turning a little bit less than what you would in the actual turn. So Pache able to get out of the way of the leaders. Wade Craswell will be the next car that they have to deal with. I think they're going to get side by side. Yeah, Todd Cousins and TJ Medora side by side, just a few cars ahead. So some of these guys are battling now. So these late cars, they've got to be careful. They want to get around the traffic, but they also want to respect these guys and not interfere with their battles, because they don't want their battle to be interfered with either.
Yeah, big props to the 51 machine of Nick Pache getting out of the way. The 67 now going to push up and let the leaders come through. But you know what? I don't want to be down the lap. These guys are still fighting to stay on the lead lap, so this could get interesting as the leaders come up through the slalom. And you'll see right now the 2 is in close quarters with Derek Gates and the 24 machine. It got pretty tight there at the bottom. We got to keep an eye on that curve, because if that 2 machine has any little bit of an inch on that, it's going to be a Ramsky for the Ashton Tucker and the O2 team.
Oh, it's going to be tight as a tiger as Medora moves out of the way of Ashton Tucker and Matthew Barkhouse as they chip their way through the slower cars. And now a little bit of a gap between the next set of slower cars. Tucker still in front of Matthew Barkhouse. I know he's not going to want to try the outside lane, because as you can see, more rubber is laying and sticking to the asphalt. And that just is, it's just going to lose ground. Now there's no third place car directly behind the 15 to worry about. Conrad Murphy in the 89, he's about 4.5 seconds further behind the 15 currently. We're coming up to that halfway challenge, Kyle, so who's it going to be to get that extra cash from Highway 311 in North River?
Well, Tucker's been leading ever since the first caution flag, but Matthew Barkhouse has been very aggressive. He's showing some strength here. Now that they've gotten through the lap traffic, they've got a few openings here. Only 4 to go until that bonus. Makes you wonder if Matthew Barkhouse is going to take advantage of that and get more aggressive here as we get closer to that bonus. He's obviously aware of it. There's nothing wrong with picking up some cash while doing some laps here on the iRacing platform. They got Todd Cousins to deal with next in that number 2 machine. Cousins just bounced off that curb down on the bottom of the track. He gets back down to the bottom of the racetrack. Be interested to see here. Yep, he will move away for the leaders. He opens up the bottom for them to get on by, and will not be much of a threat. 2 to go until the bonus.
Big cash on the line. It's going to be a battle for that bit of cash, like you said. Ashton Tucker trying to hold off the 15 machine, but just keep an eye on the bottom as they come around the corners here. The 2-car and the 15, it looks like a ton of grip on the bottom here as they try to pilot within a couple inches from that curb. But now we're coming up on the 19-car of Ryan Walsh. It'll be interesting to see if we do have a caution, who's going to get the lucky dog to get back on this lead lap.
Now, as we come around to complete lap 50, Ashton Tucker will get the Highway 311 North River Market Halfway Award. He has led 50 consecutive laps from the get-go after Gahan in the car that was on the pole spun out before we even got going and knew Matthew Barkhouse may have been the next car to maybe spin out. He was all over that curb. Great view from the side of Ashton Tucker as they're still going through some lap traffic. Conrad Murphy in third, almost 5.5 seconds behind. Not even in the same area code as your top two, Kyle.
It's very impressive to me how these two drivers have been so tightly packed with each other for so long, yet they continue to pull away from the field behind them. The gap back to Conrad Murphy in third just continues to grow ever so slowly, and now we're beyond the halfway point of this race. We're on the downhill slope of this 100-lapper. So if things stay the way they are, green flag and no real incidents from this point on, could be seeing a two-car battle all the way through. Now, I'll propose to you this here, gentlemen. If we get a caution flag here in the second half, depending on when it happens, do we see anybody maybe try some pit strategy here and try to get some fresh tires to make it work through the final stages of this event?
Well, the thing about the lucky dog, he can't go down pit road under that caution, or he'll lose his fast pass. So right now at this point, depending on how many go down a lap here, pit road will then play a factor on whoever's on the lead lap. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here as we complete 56 laps. As your leaders come through, Ashton Tucker, Matthew Barkhouse, tandem together. Working together almost as teammates. Not a lot of aggression come from Matthew Barkhouse. I think he's comfortable back there and playing a little bit of a chess match with Ashton Tucker, waiting to pull on that move for the checkmate.
Well, Matthews had the fastest car on the track consistently. Playing a little cat and mouse there with the 0-2 Ashton Tucker, 0-2 on the score ticker, number 2 on the big screen, and you can see Barkhouse again trying to peer on the inside, the preferred lane. Oh, a little bit of a curve there, and this may open the door for Barkhouse. No, Tucker's able to slam that door as he falls behind the number 52. A stack of cars in front of your leader. Barkhouse throws his nose underneath. Here's a move there for first, and here comes the pass on the inside, but a block there from the slower car nearly. Door handle to door handle for first. Barkhouse grabs P1 using the slower car to his advantage.
Lap traffic definitely playing a factor, and Ashton Tucker is not happy. He slams into the back of the 52 machine of Nick Mott, trying to get him out of his way, and he still cannot do it. Now, Keith McClellan has given way to Matthew Barkhouse. Barkhouse now gets checked up a little bit by Brad Hayes, so the lap traffic becoming a huge factor for this battle for the lead. These guys are getting all over the racetrack, getting impatient, and starting to mix it up.
Yeah, definitely getting tangly back there as Tucker really getting frustrated with the 52, almost picking him up and tossing him off the track there. But we're going to see oh, dude, this is going to shake it all up. And we're going to get some kick-ass beef jockey in here. And Paul Strickland Jr. is going to give a quick peek here, boys. That is a game changer for Ashton Tucker. Will he be given the penalty?
That's going to be a tough call. I'm glad I don't have to make that call because the lap car very obviously let the leader by, and he's already lost the lap at that point. So why bother trying to hold up the P2 car? Don't know if there was any kind of team ruling or anything like that, but really, you saw this coming. The number 2 car there on your screen gets right up onto the 52, trying to get him around him for a couple of laps and just gives him a shot. Says, you know what? Give you a couple opportunities to scoot on over. Sorry, my turn. So we'll see if race officials here are going to send the number 2 car to the back of the pack. Looks like he's still lined up P2, but we will definitely take a look at that, Kyle.
Indeed they did, guys. They just sent Ashton Tucker to the tail of the field. The emotion, the frustration got the best of Ashton Tucker, and he has been sent tail for his involvement in this caution flag. A heartbreaker for Ashton Tucker. He dominated the first half of this race, had such a good car underneath of him, but the emotions got him. He made a mistake, turned the 52 and Nick Mott, and now he pays the price. He's got to go to the back of the field.
Well, boys, it looked like Nick Mott was going to let him go, came up and then came back down. So I think Ashton Tucker was thinking that he was going up. Maybe the spotter told him he was going to be clear, but definitely a game changer. Ashton Tucker going all the way to the back, but, you know, he's going to be in front of that lap traffic. It's going to probably land him in about the 15th position. But we do get a lucky dog on this. Lap 66, I don't think we'll see anybody come down for tires at this stage, but where we lost quite a few laps at the beginning. Not a lot of heat cycle through those tires, but still plenty of racing to go here. But Ashton Tucker's going to have to get on the hammer to get those 14 spots back.
Now, there were a handful of cars that were a lap down, so this may sort of cater to Ashton Tucker. He may not be as deep in the field as, well, originally thought, as a couple of cars now going to slow up and let the leaders go by. And this is really going to shake things up like a milkshake, a shamrock shake on St. Patrick's Day.
Shamrock.
I'm just trying to find all the food references. We've got a bunch of Tim Hortons references. Got to get the McDonald's in there, too.
Double.
Well, we're going to double up the field here and get ready to restart.
Well, one driver in particular, the 41 car, is going to start on the inside. Row number 3, Jason Goss, was in 10th position, now all the way up to 5th. Big move. And Brett Suggs now in row number 4, the 8th position, picking up 5 spots.
So it looks like here, guys, after the penalty, Ashton Tucker's going to have to restart on the outside. Well, he won't start on the outside, but he's going to be at the back of the field. But in scoring-wise, he will restart in position number 14, so he's got a lot of work to do. He's got to start behind all these lap-down cars as well. Pace car goes to the safety of pit road. We go back to green flag racing with 31 laps remaining. Matthew Barkhouse will jump out to the race lead side by side, going on for position number 2. Contact for that position. Conrad Murphy shoves the 78 machine out of his way, and that allows Riley Duncan in the 97 to get on by. Jason Goss in the 41 going to do the same. Fitzpatrick trying to squeeze down in front of Chris Roma. It looks like he will be able to do so. Roma is side by side with the 21. Roger down for position number 6.
Suggs got a bit of traffic on the outside. The 21 machine of Roger down door to door behind the 83 machine of Chris Roma, but plenty of action mid-pack right now as we're seeing quite a few cars now testing the mid-line here as that grip starts to grow gradually out to the outside. We've seen a lot of grip at the bottom at the early stages of the heat races and the part of the main here. Maybe you might see that second line develop by the time we get to the 100 lap.
Class of the field right now is Matthew Barkhouse in the 15. He is getting away from Conrad Murphy. Riley Duncan in third. The thing, too, this is a weekly racing series. The points will build up. You want to finish as high as you can, especially if you plan to race full-time for the entire series. Things are starting to jump up and jumble up there second onward. In front, it's Barkhouse with coming up to about 25 laps to go.
They'll hit that marker this time by and complete lap number 75. Everybody's still single file throughout the first portion of the field. They've kind of settled in after some opening battles off of that restart. You're checking out the second place machine of Conrad Murphy and that number 89 car hanging on to that one. A little bit of front end damage on that left front fender, but nothing too severe. Riley Duncan in the 97 running third, starting to close in on him just a little bit. Duncan's got a couple car links back to John Fitzpatrick in position number 4, who's recovered nicely after a failed attempt on the outside of the front row for that restart. Looks like there might have been some type of issue with Ashton Tucker here, guys, as Tucker is now into the frame for Matthew Barkhouse as a potential lap car.
Wow.
Ooh. I wouldn't want to be the 15 car right now.
Barkhouse, our leader, the 15 car Barkhouse, is picking up about 1/10 of a second on the rest of the back here. He's got to check it out on having a Wednesday night cruise here, but he's going to come up on Tucker here. So this could be interesting as Tucker's way off the pace to the tail here as our leader, Matthew Barkhouse, coming up pretty quick on that 2 car of Ashton Tucker.
20 laps to go in the first weekly iRacing series for Tim's Corner Motorsports. And here comes Matthew Barkhouse approaching the number 2 of Ashton Tucker. And you said it, Mikey, Ashton is a lot slower. Will Ashton hold up to 15 like he was held up earlier, or will he move out of the way like a true gentleman and let the leader move on?
You know, I know that the 2 drivers there were battling very fiercely for that race lead for a long time there, but I really don't think there would be any bad blood between Tucker and Barkhouse. It seemed like if there would be, there was bad blood between the 52 of Nick Mott and Ashton Tucker. You saw Tatum Woolridge there. He had some type of issue. He just went a lap down. He's back up to pace, fell in line between the top 2 cars there. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Lap traffic is going to be a factor here. I can see Wade Craswell and TJ Medore also starting to enter the frame. So 17 laps to go. This one is far from over for Matthew Barkhouse.
Yeah, and I got a funny feeling if Barkhouse gets to the back of the 2, I don't think he's going to give it up too easy, as he will be the lucky dog if he goes down a lap here. But Ashton Tucker's going to fight to stay on the lead lap here, and there's only about 2/100ths of a second between Barkhouse and Tucker here. So the 2 car, whatever was going on with the 2, has been corrected. He's back up to speed and only within 2/100ths of a second between himself and the leader. But that gap is closing as they come up on the 67. This could get really interesting for Matthew Barkhouse and open the door for the 89 of Conrad Murphy and Riley Duncan as they really try to bridge that gap, because Barkhouse right now, Dylan, has a 2-second advantage over the rest of the field.
Craswell moves out of the way for Ashton Tucker, and if you just joined us, that's not Ashton Tucker leading this thing. He is about to go a lap down, but he's starting to, well, kind of get away there from Matthew Barkhouse. But Matthew Barkhouse is the leader with less than 15 laps to go. A 2-second gap between himself and Conrad Murphy and Riley Duncan. So a lot of real estate for the leader to try and slowly make his way to the end of this, Kyle. I think we're seeing
Caution flag. Yep, you indeed you did, Dylan. Caution flag has flown with 12 laps to go in this opening race for the TCM Weekly Series. I'm trying to take a scan of the racetrack here and see if I can find the incident myself. And to be honest with you,
Riley Duncan.
Riley Duncan in the 97. Let's see here. Riley Duncan in. Well, wait. Why am I trying to find the caution? That's Paul's job with the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky Instant Replay. Paul, get on it.
Well, I know exactly where the kick-ass beef jerky is. I'm still looking through the replay here to find out exactly why it is we're under caution. Taking a look, did see a little bit of tangle action going on there. A couple of red cars that were sideways, but I'm not seeing anybody fully pointed in the wrong direction.
It's like NASCAR to hit the button by accident.
Well, it hasn't been.
It may have been. I think what they threw it for was that slide that Riley Duncan took going into turn number 4 there in lap 88.
It may very well have been. Here's a little bit of contact here. This might have been one of those things where you kind of key up the button and you get ready to press it and nothing happens, but then you forget that you got the button all ready to go and you just kind of bump it a little bit. Here's a little bit of action. You see 97. 83 kind of check up a little bit. Actually, this is coming to the caution. Yeah, not really sure where the caution was under that thing, but that's a great replay, great kick-ass beef jerky instant replay.
Yeah, I just tuned into the conversation there with race control. I do believe that it was involving that slide there with the 97 Riley Duncan. They did just admit that they kind of threw it a little too early. They thought that Riley was going to go around, and they itched the trigger finger and turned on the yellow lights. So that is exactly what the yellow was for. Race control admitting that they threw it a little too early, but well, I guess that makes things a little more fun for us. I don't know if you're necessarily happy to hear that if you're in the Matthew Barkhouse camp, but we are not, so I don't think that matters too much to us.
Mike Alexander's throwing something. I know he is.
I'd say there's some smack talk on social media right now, but hopefully not. It's all a bit of fun. iRacing's a serious deal, but what a great job by all competitors here tonight. A lot of clean runs here, a lot of green laps in the first race of the series. It gives you a bit of a peek at what we're expecting over the 8-week course of this TCM Weekly Series. And, we've got to see quite a bit of action. Ashton Tucker and the 15 car put on a show for 3/4 of this race. But this is where it's going to come down. The final 5 laps, I believe, as the lights come out, we are going back to action. It's going to be Conrad Murphy on the outside and Barkhouse with the hammer. Barkhouse gets out clean, Dylan. Here we go. 3 wide coming into turn 1, and we are wrecking.
Big trouble over there in turn 1. Brett Suggs is spun around. I think Chris Roma no, I don't think he was. There was a whole bunch of cars that got sideways there. I think there was only 1 or 2 cars that ended up spinning. But oh man, or no, it was Roger Down. It was not Brett Suggs. It was Roger Down, Travis Roma. Looks like Richard Drake got caught up in that one as well. There's the Tangley stuff that Mike was talking about.
Tangley.
Calamity coming to the restart.
You got to say it like a pirate. Arr, Tangley.
All the way, always after the booty. Here, Evadane TV. Taking a look at the restart, we see the the 21 and the 33 side by side, getting ready for the restart. We saw it looked like the 97 may have gotten a little bit out of shape here. Take a quick little look-ski, and there you see it. The 97 gets out of shape, and everybody tries to avoid him, just trying to cram 4 race cars where 2 of them fit. So here you see they come to the caution 4 wide. Jeez. A little bit of a bump there from the 70 and the 8, but or the 80 and the 7. Easy enough for me to do. And there you see the 38 coming in the picture there too. So no big hits, just kind of pointed a couple of cars in the wrong directions. This is going to be a wild 3 laps, man. You guys going to be able to keep up with it?
Is there going to be ice cream?
There better be.
Did Ashton Tucker get through that nice and clean? I was kind of... I missed the 2 car if he had any damage to that, but this I don't think he's going to have enough time here, boys, as they are scoring him now in the 11th position. So quite a bit of
it's a lot of real estate.
The real estate.
It's a lot of real estate to try and catch up there.
We're going to become real estate agents tonight.
Hey, it's smart business to get into.
He's going to be jumping off the top rope from the high rent district.
Kyle, as a driver, Kyle, you know, you've been in these situations quite often here in the simulator. If you're Conrad Murphy, what's the game plan here?
Well, I think you got to get off to as good of a restart as you possibly can. We haven't seen that outside line to be anything successful just yet. You've got really nothing to lose at this point. You got to go for it. You got to try to get a good restart. You got to try to hang with Matthew Barkhouse. I don't really think fitting down in line is going to be the key here, unless you can find an immediate hole and get really aggressive. But we'll see what happens on this restart.
Well, Barkhouse is going to hold him back, and it didn't fire right away. A little bit of a strategy from the 15 car. But look at this, John Fitzpatrick now coming up. We got a lot of action. And Brett Suggs entering the picture into the top 4 behind the 78 machine. He's going to get around Conrad Murphy. Oh. It's going to get wild here as we go back to caution.
Oh no, that was right before the white flag was supposed to come out. So we're going to have to do this one again and see what one of the overtime round 2, brother. Yeah, cream the cream. The cream always rises to the top, and the cautions always come out with less than a lap to go, brother.
Let's get that kick-ass beef jerky back in here, Paul.
Yeah, the kick-ass beef jerky always sponsors the instant replay. Ooh, yeah. Snap it to a kick-ass. Ooh, yeah. So we're taking
we're really cheesing it up here tonight, boys.
I'm starting to feel uncomfortable.
We need a couple of adults up here, please. So taking a look at the, there's the car, the blue car. Looks like McKellen, Daddy Mac there, the 30 Bud Light machine. pointed in the wrong direction. We'll check on how he got that way. It looks like a little bit of a help there from the Riley Duncan machine. Just ran the virtual snowball derby there in the Vidane TV sponsored ride. He's going out for some Timbits and a double-double out there in the field. And it looks like Mac Daddy in the number 30 Bud Light car points it in the right direction. He's still down a lap, so that's going to be tough. Not going to be able to make that up. But it's still going to be an exciting finish. This is going to be green-white checkered attempt number 2, I believe.
This caution's been brought to you by Kick-Ass Beef Jerky and a 2-4 Bud Light.
And Tim Hortons.
We haven't talked a lot about Gahan throughout this race, as he was our pole setter, but we did get a quick peek of him there in that caution. But John Gahan making his way up to the 14th position. And he is on the lead lap, boys.
Now here's something else. John Fitzpatrick will be starting on the outside of Matthew Barkhouse. We have seen John Fitzpatrick pull an iRacing victory from out of nowhere. The base lights are off that vehicle. Matthew Barkhouse has dominated the back end of this race. Ashton Tucker, he was able to really be strong at the beginning, but not at the end. He's further in the field We're going to pull this iRacing pace car off the track and see if we can finish off another overtime. Matthew Barkhouse ready to fire out of the gates. Green flag is back out, and another great restart, but Fitzpatrick falls right in line there, Kyle. Oh, spin!
Wreck it again. We've got a huge mess going into turn number 1. John Fitzpatrick tried to jump down low, but it will be all for naught as we've got cars scattered and splattered all over turns 1 and 2. John Gahan, Dave Cassidy, Keith McClellan, Travis and Chris Roma, Jake Goodwin's involved, TJ Mador. We've got them all over the kitty litter, the racetrack. Boy, oh boy, we're using up those green and white checkers tonight, Paul.
You are exactly right, and that's just like how I like my hash browns. Scattered and I don't think that's actually a thing, but taking a look at the instant... Yeah, well, no kitty litter. You don't put that in... I digress.
It's not Christmas vacation.
We'll take a look here. You can see the 17 gets out of shape, and man, just stacks them up from there. There you see the 16, the pole sitter, almost gets up around it. Unfortunately, loses the back end of the race car. Bunch of guys going down there, having a tag sale, looks like, in turns number 2 and 3 out in the lawn or the dirt area. But everybody points it in the right direction. Going to have another green-white checkered restart. Man, 15 inside, 78 outside. Who's going to win it?
Game 7, Stanley Cup, third overtime. Is it going to be Sidney Crosby?
Well, let me tell you something, brother. The Leafs didn't know anything about winning in overtime this playoffs.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
Trust me. I cried a couple of times in July. But, we will see if Matthew Barkhouse is able to hold on for another overtime. Fitzpatrick, I thought he was going to fire off as good or nearly as good, but then he tucked right behind the 15 again, and that may have been the spark to cause that giant pileup. There's always the cliche saying with cautions breed cautions, but prime example right here, last couple of laps, a couple of bucks on the line tonight to get a couple of Big Macs and a couple of double doubles. You want that money, and you're going to try and get as many positions as you can.
Kyle, we were talking about Comrade Murphy starting the outside on the restart as a driver. Murphy now is going to be on the inside where the grip was. We've seen on that last restart, John Fitzpatrick losing a bit of grip there and kind of widen it up a little bit. But it seems like the rest of the field, the reason why we're in the third overtime here, as everybody is trying to time the restart here. Matthew Barkhouse has been holding them off. He is not firing when that pace car gets out of the way. So Matthew Barkhouse is a bit of a factor here in some of these pileups in this overtime.
Here we go. We're going to give it a third attempt. Green flag is out. John Fitzpatrick tries to get down to the bottom of the racetrack and got sideways. That affects Conrad Murphy, and here comes Brett Suggs around for position number 2. Matthew Barkhouse escapes the field. Brett Suggs is second. Will they make it to the white flag? Survey says yes.
Matthew Barkhouse is getting some distance from Brett Suggs. How about Brett Suggs moving his way to second? But it won't matter. Winning the first TCM Weekly iRacing Series race will be Dartmouth's Matthew Barkhouse as he piles it into the wall and crosses the start-finish line.
What a way to finish, boys, into the wall. But wild third overtime. Johnny Fitzpatrick almost causing the fourth overtime there as he tried to time it, but lost a lot of traction there and came across in front of Conrad Murphy. But your race winner, Kyle, what an unbelievable start to this TCM Weekly Racing. Matthew Barkhouse taking it home for the Celtic Care Ford.
Matthew Barkhouse takes the first victory in the TCM Weekly Series here at the Oxford Plains Speedway. I got to be honest, guys, I think he may have tried to do a little showboating and slid across the line there, but fortunately he had enough of a lead to where nosing it into the wall at the start-finish line didn't really do him too much harm. Brett Suggs, the newly crowned about 3 weeks ago now, RBR Maritime iRacing Series champion, he finishes in second. John Fitzpatrick hangs on for third. Conrad Murphy is fourth, and Jason Goss completes your top 5. Roger Downs, 6th place finish. How about this, guys? Ashton Tucker recovers nicely. Well, sort of nicely, not exactly how he would have liked to have finished tonight. Comes home in 7th. Richard Drake 8th. Riley Duncan 9th. And your pole sitter John Gahan gets himself back inside the top 10 despite being involved in one of those late race crashes, and he finishes in 10th.
We call that a selly, Kyle, in hockey when you showboat a little bit. So Matthew was certainly sellying hard as he was crossing the start-finish line. But what a win what a big win for him. I mean, anytime I've announced any of these iRacing events, you can always count on Matthew being at the front of the field, and he's usually at the front of the front at P1, and he did it again tonight, winning the first TCM Weekly iRacing Series event. And the man himself, Tim Terry's in here. Tim, pretty clean race until the end with a few overtimes, but Matthew Barkhouse getting the first win of the Weekly Racing Series.
Yeah, first win. Congratulations to Matthew. Great show. Feel bad for Ashton with that little incident that he had with the 52. Kind of reminds us of what happened on Speed Weekend with Dave Oblinas. But overall, a decent show. Was a little quick on the trigger on one of those cautions, but I think we probably would have had a green-white checker at the end. By the way, those guys were racing and tussling back and forth. But congratulations to those guys. They put on a great show. And kudos to John Gahan coming back from 10th after taking the self-imposed PR Gahan and Sons pole challenge on the start of that race. But yeah, overall, great show. I think I said it off the top of the show. We have, I think, the best group that we've had in a while. I don't think there's anybody bent out of shape. I don't think there's anybody upset. So I think overall right now, I think we're good, but we'll see what happens. We'll talk to these boys in the top three, and then we'll reset and get ready for next week.
We certainly will. We certainly will, Mikey.
Unbelievable run. I got a funny feeling the spotters for the 15 and the crew and and all the fans of Matthew Barkhouse were sweating bullets between those three overtimes. But taking it home for the Celtic Air Ford, it's going to be Matthew Barkhouse. But it looks like we got a couple drivers in there. Matthew Barkhouse is in the room right now. Congratulations, Matthew.
Thank you.
Unbelievable run. You must have been sweating bullets throughout those overtimes.
Yeah, I was definitely a little worried that someone's going to drive it in there. It's one of those tracks where you can get a big run and rush them up pretty quick, but thankful I had the good restarts there, and this time them right and getting off good.
Well, throughout the whole race, yourself and Ashton Tucker were going at it. Must have been quite a different ending here. And once we got to the 3/4 mark, Ashton Tucker coming out of the picture. But you guys had a great run, quite often coming pretty close to that inside here at Oxford Plains. Tell us a little bit about that Tangley inside lines there.
For sure. I definitely felt like I had a little bit faster car there. I took a little bit of a swing of the setup at the end there, and it definitely was able to keep on the bottom a little bit better than I think he was running. But just had to keep the patience there. Didn't want to do anything dumb where I was going to move him and potentially bring out a yellow and us go to the back. So just played it out, waited until we got to the lap traffic, and they eventually slowed up enough to drive under clean.
Well, always a pleasure to announce the 15 machine. The open setup here at Oxford, you did not go through the heat races in the LCQ. So sitting on there, John Gahan taking all the way to the back there with the open setup. Did you find a big difference once we got into the main event?
I was definitely a little worried about where the setups were going to be. We just had a couple that we got, and Keith and the other guys there in the team, they ran one. And I ran this one with a couple of changes, and mine was definitely a lot faster than what they were. So I feel bad they went that route, but I hope the setup keeps the times fast here and competitive, and we keep on doing this weekend and week out.
Unbelievable. You're seeing on the screen there the 78 coming all the way in front of Connor Murphy. Could have been a little bit wild there on that final lap. Anybody you want to give thanks to for this huge win tonight, Matthew, to get things going for the TCM Weekly?
Yeah, definitely, as usual, Celtic Air, the Undersigned Group, Arner Kinsman's, McDonald Automotive, and all the guys there at Rev. We had a little bit of time there tonight to mess with some things, and I worked out on our benefit. I definitely wasn't trying to wreck the car at the end there. I didn't realize how free it was when you hit the gas.
Well, congratulations once again from all the team up here in the booth. Always a pleasure to watch the 15 and taking home a big win for Celtic Air tonight, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Have a good night.
I think we have Brett Suggs in here, Kyle.
That we do, getting over here with our runner-up finisher tonight, the 33 machine of Brett Suggs. Brett, we didn't really chit-chat about you too much until the late stages there. You worked your way up from a 16th place starting spot to steal a runner-up in the final stages. You were the big benefit on that final restart there of John Fitzpatrick trying to make a very aggressive move to get down to the bottom lane from restarting right in front of you. Worked out great in your favor. Take us through all of that for us.
Yeah, if you guys remember back to the RBR series, I told you guys I was not a big fan of this track. Wasn't expecting to have a solid finish, and in that race I walked away runner up as well. So no, it's tough. These open setup deals. My team, the RBR guys, shout out to them. I mean, we've been putting in a lot of work trying to get long run speed, and clearly we had something at the end of the race, which is good, but definitely need to work on our qualifying because I think we were all like outside the top 10. So not the ideal starting spot to have to run in the final heat race and hope to make it into that, but to sneak our way through the traffic and that final restart, it was just everything was up in the air and we were able to get by and bring home second. I'm satisfied with that.
Brett, take us through what it was like running around this track. We can see now that the dust has settled. A very dark line around the bottom side. Didn't really seem like the track widened out too much, and those upper grooves seem to be very marble filled and didn't really give anybody an opportunity to present some good side by side battling other than getting aggressive and showing the nose. Is that what it was like for you inside the car tonight?
Yeah, I'd say so. This is such a one groove racetrack, and if you're stuck on the high side, you're going backwards. And I think I capitalized on someone who was in eighth, and they just got hung out to dry, fell all the way back, I think, to 14th or 15th. So just picking up the spots when you can, when you see the pack of cars in front of you, making moves and getting someone hung out on the top side. And that's one thing with these restarts. It's so important, as you saw with John trying to get to the bottom side, just to hold on for his own position. I don't think he was really trying to go for the win there, but just to not lose anymore. And same with me. I mean, restarting fourth on the top, I was trying to get down as quick as I can, and I saw the mistake that John made and just capitalizing on it. That's the biggest thing because I didn't have the setup to win by no means. So just, seeing where people are making mistakes and being able to get a run off of that.
You mentioned your RBR guys. You're coming off of a championship that you won in their league last month. And this league, while it is a weekly series league at the same track compared to them traveling around to different tracks, the points format is very similar. And there will be a drop week in the first 7 races, and you'll go into the championship having that race count no matter what. Knowing that, is there any advantage, do you think, to yourself, seeing that you just won a championship with a very similar format?
Well, unfortunately, I think I might be the first to break the news to you, but we came home P3 in that series after the final race, just the way the points worked out. But yeah, I mean, just having consistent runs, and I was not expecting to finish second. I was just going in here like, hey, if we can walk out with a top 10, I'd be okay. But to start off with a second, I mean, that's fine by me. Hopefully we'll work on the setup each and every week, get better, maybe try to run up there with Matthew a little bit. Because I know he had the qualifying and clearly the race speed as well. So if we can get up there and have a good short run car, that'll give us those consistent finishes at the end.
I'll blame Paul for that misinformation there, and I'm just making myself look like a fool on the airwaves, so I appreciate that, Showtime. But anyway, it's still a second place run for you here tonight. Who would you like to thank for getting it done?
Yeah, shout out first and foremost to my stream for everybody that tuned in and was cheering me on there, trying to make a run up through the field. Also, you guys for the great broadcast, and it's always fun to go back and check them out and watch it. And for Tim Terry putting on this weekly series, it's going to be quite the battle once we get a couple races in and people start kind of figuring it out. So that's going to be a blast. Also, my IRL sponsors, we got the Custom Matco, Lake Norman Power Cleaning, Breast Exoration Marketing, Speed Energy, and finally, the guys back at the RBR shop. We didn't have the best cars out here, but we made it work there at the end of the race, and that's all that matters. So we'll go on to the next one and hopefully find a little bit more speed.
Your second place finisher here tonight in the opener for the TCM Weekly Series, Brett Suggs in the 33 came all the way back from 16th place in order to do it, was a beneficiary of a wild final restart, and came home in the runner-up position. Well, Dylan, we'll send you on over to our third place finisher, a man that wears his Canadian pride all over that number 78 race car. That's the third place finisher tonight, John Fitzpatrick.
Certainly repping the red and the white there. John, do you got a copy, brother?
Good evening, fellas.
How you doing, brother?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. How about you guys?
We're doing okay, and you had a pretty decent race out there. Top 3 finish. You were out there at the last couple of overtimes. How was it driving behind Matthew on those overtimes? Did you think you had a chance to maybe give him a bit of a bump to maybe get P1?
No, there was not a chance of that. I was just trying to finish second to Matthew. Even got lucky for that, or I got lucky to get third because Ashton there, I guess, and then the leader on the first restart having his issue. So definitely didn't have the speed tonight. Just had the luck to stay up there.
Well, you stayed in the top 10 the entire time. Was that just the way the race laid out, or was it the complete driving ability, or was it pure luck?
I'd say it's a combination of all three. Like, it was funny. I was practicing this week, just knowing the series was coming up. I was looking at my times. They're pretty good, like 15-1. I was pretty happy with that. Then I go into the server and people are running 14-6, 14-7. So it's a mad dash to make a wholesale of changes, and it seemed to have good long run speed. Short run speed wasn't very good though.
The unique thing about this series, John, with racing at Oxford the entire time, we're staying at the same place. What can you improve on to move up 2 positions to get that big win next week?
I'd say overall my short run speed, just working on that, and I'd say just getting some laps at this track. Like I hate this track. It's one of my least favorites. Doing it mostly just because the other drivers are really fun to race with, and Tim puts on a good show, and so do you guys.
Anyone you want to thank tonight for getting this top 3?
I'd like to thank you guys for putting on the show, Tim for hosting it, and the other drivers for driving mostly clean race. Like the guys up in the top 10 are pretty clean. I was probably the rowdiest of the bunch. I think I bumped Richard Drake out of the way. Sorry to him. And overall, though, it was pretty fun.
Well, congrats on your top 3 there, John. Can't wait to see you next week.
Oh, thanks, guys. Look forward to it.
It's John Fitzpatrick from the Island, finishing 3rd. Solid run from him, and solid race overall as we're seeing the top 10 again. Conrad Murphy 4th. Jason Goss, he was fast. I almost said friggin' fast. He was friggin' fast earlier. But getting a top 5, Roger Down, Tucker, Drake, Riley Duncan, and Gahan in the 16. Heartbreak City for him. Thing too, this is going to be the top 10 nearly, with points building up, and that's going to be very important next week.
Yeah, for sure, Dylan. I mean, it was a pleasure here tonight. A little bit of a foreshadow for what we're going to see. A lot of green runs here. So it's going to be exciting to see, those that did not make it into the big show, how much practice they're going to throw down this next week. Staying on the exact same track throughout this series is going to be wild to see in race number 2, as we lost a lot of good drivers in the heat race qualifiers in the LCQ. So it'll be interesting to see who makes the show for race number 2. And it's going to be a pleasure to be back here at Oxford Plains. And historically, we're getting it off to a great start here. Tim, what are your thoughts of tonight?
I think the race went well, and you mentioned it too. We're here next week, but the weather is probably going to change. I'm just looking back at what we had. The track temperature dropped about 10 degrees in about the last 10 minutes or so, last 15, 20 laps of that race. So John mentioned short run. We talked about in the race control booth, there's no tires, there's no sets of tires, but we were kind of surprised, even though track position is key here. We were surprised that a lot of those guys didn't come down pit road and get adjustments done to their race cars about mid-pack and try to free up or tighten up their race cars a little bit. But congratulations to Matthew Barkow. Should mention as well, the Highway 311 North River Market is on board this season with the halfway award. So every leader at halfway, obviously this was scheduled to be a 100-lap feature. It went a little bit longer, but lap 50's leader was Ashton Tucker. So Ashton Tucker will pick up a $10 bonus on the end of the season as well. So congratulations to him. We're looking for some race sponsors for this deal. The long and the short of it, if we find race sponsors, the top 5 get a little more at the end of the season. We get a little more to offset the cost of putting this deal on. So if you're interested in coming on board and sponsoring a race or two in this, be sure to get a hold of me through the Tim's Corner page or through Facebook, and we'll get you hooked up with all that information. But congratulations to Matthew Barkhouse. We got some points to crunch. Qualifying, as Mike mentioned, was key. Overall, I think we had a good night, and Paul's already got the upcoming events coming up. And Paul, we're going to be busy here the next little while. We got some TCM special events. We got the weekly series next week. Might add a race or two in there near the end of next week. I know Mike's chomping at the bit to get some racing in. We got Sim 500. We got NEPs coming up. What don't we have coming?
Oh, we don't have any monster trucks yet, so we're going to have to get on Mike about that, see if we can get some monster trucks here on Vidane TV. Heck, we're even talking about maybe possibly streaming a wedding down there in Jacksonville, Florida. So lots of stuff coming up here on Vidane TV. Not just
whose wedding that could be.
Rhymes with Wes.
No. Monster truck in Jacksonville if you want to get them to drive off with some cans behind a monster truck.
That would be pretty fantastic. Wes's fiance is going to hate us.
It happened in Police Academy, the movie.
Yeah, run it. I'm sure it happened in a Police Academy as well. But a couple races coming up here tomorrow night. Back with Sim 500 tomorrow for the Atlanta 150. This Saturday, the Sim 500 Vidane Super Speedway Series going for that championship belt. It's actually sitting right here on my desk waiting for its newly crowned champion. Wes actually leading the points after 2 races. And doesn't mean he's got it in the bag yet. He's done that the last 2 seasons and came up just a little bit short. Ended up finishing second in both championships, both of the last Vidane Super Speedway championships. So crazy points battle going on over there. 2 race winners in 2 different races so far. Back here next Wednesday for the Tim's Corner Motorsports Weekly Series. Again, race number 2 here at Oxford. And a little bit of a doubleheader there Thursday. Just not even announced on the Facebook yet. Eastbound Esports. Mike James's brainchild here, coming in for a 6:30 Eastern start time next week before the Neps race. Neps, those guys are going to be running at Loudon. And then the Saturday, we've got another doubleheader, Tim's Corner Motorsports Super Speedway special event with the Sim 500 Vidane Super Speedway Series coming up right after that. With, as Tim made mention, a few races sprinkled in here and there throughout next week. Talking to East Coast Winter League, they've got a couple of their Pro Series races coming up here in the next couple of weeks. They got some sponsorship money for. Going to be doing some broadcasts, and that's good because that'll remind me that they have the light race that I'm supposed to be running in. I got 2 top 10s and 2 starts, but I've also missed 2 races, so usually forget about that early Sunday afternoon start time, but not a big deal. We'll see what we can muster up there. I know Josh Parker's doing a great job in the light series. Couple of wins leading the points so far. And we're also talking to the Neps guys about their Super Truck series. It's going to be starting up on Friday. And Kyle, you're working on a little something there here on Vidane TV. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, well, I've seen a little bit of inspiration. Well, I mean, I've been a bit of an enthusiast with enduro and demolition type derby events for a while, but last week getting to participate in Tim's event, it really has ignited my fire to get my project rolling, and glad to say that Crash for Cash Promotions has been created. We do have a Facebook page open. Still working on some finalizing details to get our first event published. That should be coming up here in the next couple weeks. You can find that on Vidane TV. I can promise you that at least the majority of the races, as long as I can afford to make it happen, will be here on Vidane TV. I have a huge passion for enduro racing in real life, and I've wanted to be an event host with iRACING for a while, and I want to put the two together and see if we can come up with something different, something unique to really bring in a lot of entertainment to the iRACING platform, and have a fun, relaxing way to have a blast with the sim during the winter months and give out some money to some people in the process. So I don't necessarily know if I'll be ready to share all the full details with that on tomorrow's broadcast, but I feel very confident that going into early next week, we can have it all here to talk about for sure, and really start something cool here for the winter and hopefully for the foreseeable future.
Really looking forward to that as well. Lots of stuff coming up on Vidane TV. We're even talking about maybe doing a well, we don't want to necessarily call it a ball drop, but a New Year's Eve special, seeing as how nobody can go anywhere anyway, so we may as well just all gather around the Vidane TV screen and watch Paul drink. But that's going to do it here for tonight for Vidane TV. Everybody here at Tim's Corner Motorsports, from the race officials, the admin team, Tim Terry, Mike on the Rocks, Hall of Famer Dylan Langile, Kyle Young.
New name.
It's Showtime Strickland Jr. signing off for tonight. We'll catch you tomorrow night for the Sim 500 Atlanta 150 right here on Vidane TV. Have yourselves a great night. Thanks for letting us into your homes.